my people, welcome back to another video and welcome back to my channel. If you've been here, thank you so much for being here, commenting, and I so appreciate reading your comments, your thoughts, and your perspectives. It really means a lot to me that you take the time to do that. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Luana from luanarose.com, a nervous system specialist, and here on my channel I talk about all things nervous system health, relationship health, and trauma healing. This is a short video and I'm going to teach you the difference between activation, specifically nervous system activation, and overwhelm, the overwhelm that we can feel in our bodies and being sometimes in life. Before we jump in, make sure that you subscribe, you like this video, and comment if you have something to say. If you like this video or if you have a question, clarity about anything that I'm talking about in this video. I found with the people that I work with, when it comes to experiencing our humanity, which sometimes involves higher intensity emotions, getting triggered, or uncomfortable bodily sensations like the feelings that we feel inside with anxiety, depression, that squirrely anxiousness, then, folks kind of fear that intensity and fear that emotion, or a common one is, if I cry, I feel like I won't be able to stop. There's so much sadness within that I won't be able to stop. And this is a very real thing, especially if we've experienced trauma, especially if we've experienced accumulated stress in our lives. So I just want to acknowledge that it's a very real thing, and hopefully this video differentiating activation and overwhelm may help you understand the extent of and the fullness of our humanity. So sometimes this intensity of emotions or bodily sensations like a knot in our tummy, this tension in our chest, or heat, coolness, numbness, it can kind of feel like a snowball effect. Like if there's a snowball at the top of a mountain and it starts out small, I make it in my hand and I put it at the top and then push it down the mountain and it rolls and becomes bigger and bigger. Really, that's the essence of overwhelm, accumulated stress, accumulated experiences that create this stuckness within our system, within our physiology. It's too much. It's too much to bear. If I have a cup, which one second, I will get you a cup. If I have a cup, this cute little cup, I think this comes from Austria, which is part of my lineage here, is if I fill this cup with water and I fill it all the way to the top and just keep pouring, that's overwhelm. Too much going into my container. Our container is our physiology, our body, our brain, how we experience life. So being overwhelmed, it's like when that cup is just at capacity. And why it gets to being at capacity is accumulated stress, working too much, so many responsibilities, pressure on our shoulders, and of course, childhood trauma. If that childhood trauma is unresolved in our system, we're going to have a decent amount of dysregulation, disorganization, and this incoherence in our system that takes up space in that cup. So pushing us to overwhelm will happen sooner if we have that unhealed stuff floating around in our system. And it's not literally floating around, it is how we've learned how to process stress in our current day. We can often get stuck in one or two states, depending on the day of the week, where our sympathetic nervous system is kind of jacked up and I feel squirrely all the time. I feel like I'm on the edge of popping like a bubble or like a zit. It's like I'm going with the gas on and the brake on at the same time, and everything's moving fast. Life goes by fast, and I react to things super quickly. The other end of that feeling and overwhelm spectrum is shutdown, where our parasympathetic nervous system, we think of it in our culture mainly as rest and digest, but another part of our parasympathetic nervous system is the deep dorsal shutdown, which is our conservation mode. So if we are out in the outback of the mountains and we lose our way and we get cold, we only have a certain amount of food or water left, then our body will go into this conservation mode of preserving ourselves so that our physiology is using the minimum amount of resources regarding our blood pressure, the heartbeats per minute, and our digestive system functioning, things like that, so that we can last longer. It's like if we have a tiny bit of gas left in the tank and we just have to make it to the gas station. That's like what conservation mode feels like. It can feel like numbness, like everything's slow and sluggish. We respond to things very slowly. It's the opposite of being hyperactive and like things are going at Mach 10. So these are components of our autonomic nervous system that happen and that function automatically and subconsciously behind the scenes of our everyday life. When I say activation, I'm talking about a change in our state, our change in our autonomic nervous system. So that can be influenced by our internal experience or our external experience. There's this myth that activation is a bad thing or activation is scary. And don't get me wrong, it can be scary and it can be something that's uncomfortable, and like that snowball effect, it can lead to intensity and feeling uncomfortable when we don't want to. It's a spectrum though, just like our humanity. So I'm going to give you two examples here. And the first example is it's summer season here where I live, so I ordered a bathing suit online and I know it's going to come in the mail soon. So the other day I was sitting on my couch working on my laptop, as I do often, and I'm, typing away, focused, and I hear my dog bark. So that kind of gets my senses heightened and I'm alert. Oh, what's he barking at? So that's already a change in the state of my stress physiology, the state of my autonomic nervous system. So there's a shift there, of a shift in essentially activation. So I hear a knock on the door and the mail person drops the package off. I get excited and there's this anticipation of, oh, like I wonder how it'll fit, what it'll look like, these kinds of things. So how I notice this activation, I'm going to share it with you so you can kind of relate, is my heart rate goes up. I have this, as you probably see now, like this smile on my face, and like I'm feeling this sense of, oh, what's it gonna be? This excitement, this enjoyable anticipation, kind of like on Christmas Day if you're someone that celebrates Christmas, but obviously it's just the male person. So this is a activation change, a change in my state, more towards the sympathetic nervous system, the mobilization, take action, because I'm running to the door, scooping the package up, thanking the mail person, and I'm gonna go try it on after I finish my work day. So that's an example of what we would say positive activation, or enjoyable. Enjoyable is probably a better way to put it. Enjoyable activation. Another example of activation is, this is a hypothetical situation. I have never had a cavity, but let's say I go to the dental office, which I need to soon, and I don't really like going to like dental places or the hospital or anything like that. So I'm already kind of on edge a little bit. So I'm already, my nervous system and my neuroception is already aware of, I don't really want to be there. I could be other places than the dental office. So I'm at the dental office and I'm getting my teeth cleaned, and the dentist comes in after the hygienist tends to me, and the dentist says that I have a cavity and that I need to get it filled. So she tells me that I need to be there for 3.5 more hours. I need to get injections with, whatever, get it frozen, and it's going to cost me $500. So the activation here is, I would anticipate that I would feel, even talking about it, I feel a change in my heart rate. My heart rate goes up. There's some constriction in my chest because we feel activation at the level of our body, right? Our somatic experience of it. tension in my chest, heart rate goes up, and I feel a little bit of defense coming on of, ugh, I know I have to get the cavity filled because it's for my greatest good, but the reality is I don't want to, and I don't really want to pay $500 right out of my pocket to, get my tooth filled. So that activation is different than this. It's more of a fear or anticipatory and fear response that is happening a little bit within my system. And my cheeks will change, I'll feel heat in my body. That activation is what is happening. It's different than the activation that happens when I get a fun parcel in the mail. So I hope that helps you understand the spectrum that we experience normally activation on, from just doing daily things in life, like going to the dentist or getting a parcel in the mail. And I really want to highlight that both activation and overwhelm happen at the level of our body. So it's almost this cool and hip thing to say, I'm triggered. Oh my goodness, that post on social media really triggered me, or what my partner just said to me triggered me. And that's 100% real and valid. And at the same time, behind the word that we use these days, trigger, what's actually happening? Activation is happening, and sometimes overwhelm can happen when the activation is so high that the capacity that we have in our container gets to be too much. It gets overwhelming. It starts spilling out the sides. These nuances of knowing our humanity and these nuances of knowing our autonomic nervous system help us understand that activation is a spectrum, and we ought to not be scared of it, even if we have experienced that snowballing effect. I hope this video helps you understand that, especially when you are getting the resources you need, because this question kind of comes out of me working with people, and they ask me, what's the difference between activation and overwhelm? That when we build the container and our capacity to be bigger, we're going to get overwhelmed less. And the things that used to activate us actually don't anymore, and we don't get activated to the point of overwhelm. So for example, I've been working with this gentleman who would be afraid of going into grocery stores because he had a history of having panic attacks, and these panic attacks sometimes would happen in public places like grocery stores. And of course, it's embarrassing and just not a comfortable place to have a panic attack. Not that any place is a comfortable place to have a panic attack. But after working together for 4 weeks, he stopped having panic attacks. Actually, he hasn't had one since we started working together. But when he could go to grocery stores again, he didn't feel overwhelmed when he went to grocery stores because his internal sense of safety had expanded, had grown. His internal capacity to deal with the stress of going into a grocery store shifted. So this is how activation and overwhelm are experienced in our daily life and our humanity. So I hope this video helped you understand a little bit more about activation and overwhelm. And if you aren't subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this video, comment below, and I will see you in the next video. Take good care and goodbye.